From WTVM News Leader 9, this is a live exclusive. Your voice, your vote. The Columbus Mayoral Debate.
Good evening and welcome to News Leader 9's 2026 Columbus Mayoral Debate. Thank you so much for watching and being here. We're coming to you live from the Columbus River Center tonight. I'm Barbara Gauthier. And
I'm Jason Dennis. It's going to be a great night tonight, and over the next hour you will get the chance to hear from and see all 6 candidates vying for your vote.
Now, our format will include 2 rounds. Candidates will have 60 seconds to answer questions in the first round and 30 seconds to answer in the second round. Additional time may be given to candidates for a rebuttal at the discretion of us, the moderators.
And the order of tonight's opening statements was determined on stage just a little bit ago by a random draw before this broadcast. We're going to begin with Councilwoman Joanne Kogel and then go in alphabetical order on stage. You have 90 seconds for your opening statement. So, Councilwoman Kogel, you're up first.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Joanne Kogel, and I am a mom, a military spouse, a business owner, a city councilor here in District 7. And over the last 3 years serving on city council, we have successfully lowered our millage rate for the first time in history, giving our property owners a bit of tax relief. I've led the efforts to expand our green spots and green spaces across the city and increase our recreational sports opportunities for our underserved communities. I've earned the reputation for doing what is right for everyone here in Columbus. And I believe that we are at a crossroads where we can either accept the status quo or we can be the safest city in the state of Georgia. We can be the best place to do business in the state of Georgia, and we can live in a clean and well-maintained city. And I believe that we can do all of these things with fresh, bold, new leadership that is willing to do hard things, take proactive action, and so that our citizens can have a good, positive experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next statement, Mr. Hughley.
Good evening. I'm Isaiah Hughley, and I'm asking for your vote to be your next mayor. Columbus families deserve leadership that delivers results, not division. You want transparent, responsible government, clean, safe neighborhoods, safe roads, strong schools, and real economic opportunity. That's what this race should be about. I've spent my career serving this community, managing city operations, balancing budgets, and working with partners to get things done. I know how city government works, and more importantly, how to make it work for you. This is not about promises, it's about a plan to strengthen public safety, invest in our neighborhoods, support small businesses, and move Columbus forward responsibly. So tonight, look past the rhetoric and choose steady, experienced leadership that's ready to lead day one. Let's move Columbus forward together. One goal, one future, one Columbus. Vote Isaiah Hughley for mayor of Columbus, Georgia. Let's get this done together.
All right, thank you so much. Next for opening statement, Steve Kelly.
I'm going to save everyone from my bio. But let's be clear. You can't execute a vision that was never defined. That's a leadership failure. And what residents are feeling now is from decades of poor leadership and management. The lack of strong leadership equals poor planning, execution, follow-up, and follow-through. It is time to fix the chaos and divides, both socioeconomic and political, that have been caused for at least the last 41 years. We all see it. Crime is still too high. Housing costs are still rising. Infrastructure projects drag on while other infrastructure is failing, including potholes that can swallow a metro bus. Families are working harder and getting less. I'm running for those who feel that their voice is not heard and feel left behind. We're not lacking ideas. People just aren't being heard. I am not running to manage the same system. I am running to fix and improve the current system. I spent 20 years in the Army leading operations where failure was not an option. You set the mission, you allocate the resources, you track performance, and if something doesn't work, you fix it. No excuses. The same discipline is exactly what this city is missing. My plan is simple and measurable. We continue to drive crime down, all crime. We invest in our youth. We address homelessness with compassion. We fix infrastructure with transparency. We rebuild what we have and grow this economy without raising property taxes. If you want a mayor who will set the standards, measure results, and actually delivers, then I'm your guy.
All right, thank you. Next, we hear from Mr. LaJoy.
First of all, I'd like to thank WTVM and our host, Jason Dennis and Barbara Gaucher, for having us here tonight. I'm Mark LaJoy. I'm a candidate for mayor of Columbus, Georgia. I'm a law enforcement professional of over 40 years, lots of experience behind that. I'm a special operations combat veteran of Afghanistan and Iraq with over 41 years of combat service. I was an interim command sergeant major of the 20th Special Forces Group Support Battalion. I'm married to Martha, 45 years. She's in the audience. I'm proud of that. I've got 2 sons, 2 daughters, and 7 grandchildren. My education is pre-law, St. Louis University, bachelor's and associate degrees from Troy State University. My work experience, 41 years in senior military leadership. Like I mentioned, I was an interim command sergeant major for the 20th Special Forces Group. I've managed over 500 personnel, and over $1 billion in resources and assets along with that. As a program manager, I manage government projects of over $500 million. The reason I'm running, I'm frustrated with the politics, the local politics here, the usual backroom deals, the lack of accountability and integrity and transparency in our Columbus government. These are issues that I see in Columbus that need fixing: safety and security, affordable housing, infrastructure development, jobs, youth programs, and homelessness. And I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brialt.
My name is Chris Brialt. I was born and raised here in Columbus, Georgia. I grew up on the east side of Columbus. I went to Georgetown Elementary School. I went to Eastway Elementary School. I went to Richards Middle School. I did 2 years at Columbus High School. I failed the 10th grade at Columbus. I went to Jordan, and I failed the 10th grade there also. And I dropped out of high school on my 18th birthday. I got a full-time job at Winn-Dixie in the deli on Veterans Parkway. I went back to school. I went to the Tillinghurst Adult Education Center, and I got my GED there. I went to college at CVCC, then I went to Columbus Tech and CSU. I transferred to the University of Georgia. I got my bachelor's degree at the University of Georgia, and I went to law school at the University of Georgia. And I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm a trial lawyer. I worked in downtown Atlanta for a year after law school, and then I came back to Columbus 10 years ago. And since I've been back here, I've had my own business here for over 10 years, and I've gotten the largest motorcycle wreck verdict in Georgia history. I've gotten the largest non-death car wreck verdict in Georgia history. Columbus history. I've gotten the largest DUI wreck verdict in Georgia history, and Columbus history, and the 3rd largest false imprisonment verdict in Columbus history. And that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. And final statement from Dr. Bryan.
Yeah. No neighborhood in Columbus should be overlooked when it comes to safety, investment, and opportunity. And that's exactly why I'm not a career politician. I'm someone who stepped up to serve. I'm Dr. Jaketra Bryant, a mental health clinician, advocate, and a proud mom of a teenager, and that definitely deserves leadership, who has spent her career working directly with people, listening, and solving problems and building real solutions that impact everyday lives. My PhD in leadership has given me the opportunity to design and implement programs for CEOs, city managers, sheriffs, and nonprofits, plus others, nationally and internationally, and equip leaders and solve complex challenges. I understand how policy decisions show up at the kitchen tables, in classrooms, and in communities. But more than anything, I'm human. I've seen struggles families face. I've supported people through those challenges, and I know what it feels like when voices go unheard. That's why I'm running, to bring leadership that listens, shows up, and delivers for every part of Columbus. Because at the end of the day, this campaign is about no neighborhood left behind.
Thank you, candidates. We will now begin the first round of questions. You have 60 seconds to answer. We will rotate who goes first following each question, and we begin tonight with Isaiah Hughley.
Our first question tonight, and again, each of you will get the chance to answer these. A recent Georgia Tech study found that the lack of affordable housing is one of the most important issues facing Columbus in the future. So what are some specific proposals for addressing this housing problem? Mr. Hughley.
Thank you. So first of all, I will refer back to our city government. We have the Community Development Block Grant program. We have housing assistance in that program. You can get $5,000, $10,000 down payment assistance. The state has a $25,000 down payment assistance. We've got to make sure we communicate that word to the citizens because that's their opportunity to get into a home without a down payment. We've also got to work with builders, developers, that they will inform citizens about those down payment assistance programs. That is just one way that we can use our government funds to get into affordable housing here in Columbus, Georgia.
Mr. Kelly, same question.
Affordable housing is a problem. Grants for down payments aren't going to help that. People have this misconception about what affordable housing is. I was sitting at the city council meeting and somebody said something about $300,000. That's not affordable. To me, when I look at buying a home, $150,000, $200,000, that's what the average person can possibly afford as a couple, maybe, depending on the cost of living. We have programs currently in Columbus to provide housing, such as Elliott's Walk, that is currently failing. It's a great program, but it needs to be revamped. We need mixed housing. So we don't need just low-income housing or expensive housing and stuff like that. We need to actually have a real mix, and we need to work with these developers, and we need to put better plans and stop points in place with these programs that we are currently running, and that is something that I'm working on.
Well, you're going to hear a lot of talk here tonight, and all these extravagant plans that everybody throws together, and it's nothing but talk. If there was such a plan in place and it's already been done, it would have been done already. Why are we waiting to be a mayoral candidate to try to do that? We talked about, myself and Steve Kelly talked about homelessness. There's varying levels of degrees of homelessness in Columbus, Georgia. And that's something we have to tackle. We have to get a task force out there, put a task force together and tackle that very issue. But we talked about veteran homelessness. That's something that I'm very big on. Looking at abandoned houses, instead of tearing them down, try to get some of the social organizations out here, the veterans organizations, to come and put these things, put them all back together and put veterans in homes. We can also put homeless people in these homes. But the main thing is to get people in homes. That's the main thing. Don't wait for all this other rhetoric and programs that's got to go into place. Get them in a house.
Mr. Brio?
Thank you. So the issue of, the affordability of homes, it ties into how much money people are making, whether they have good jobs. And, it's going to be very important to continue to develop Columbus economically, because if people can't afford homes and if they don't have good jobs, they're not going to be able to afford homes. So one thing that you've heard me talk about is cleaning up the city, fixing the place up, fixing the potholes. And a lot of this is, It's very basic things, but businesses don't want to come here if the town is in bad condition, if it looks like we don't take care of things. And, maybe from a governmental level, you can try to regulate these large institutional investors. One thing they're doing is they buy up a lot of single-family homes, and these are like the hedge funds that come in and buy single-family homes. And one thing that we can do is try to rein those in and try to advocate for some regulation to hopefully we can ban them from buying single-family homes, and that would bring down the price of homes.
Dr. Bryant?
Yes. So I talk to families every day who are trying to get out of poverty. Affordability is not a one-step, one-stop shop. It's so layered in the city. It's combined with the way our taxes are. It's combined with our overdevelopment. And it's combined with the fact that we are literally pricing our own families out of this city. I've talked to people who literally have to pay application fee after application fee just to rent an apartment. So this is not a do this, pull this money here. It's about actually beginning to invest in our people. Using the money that's already here, that's been given to other places like for overdevelopment. It's about altering our taxes. It's about accessibility. If there is home affordability, then our families have to know about it. It has to be accessible, always, from internet to paper copies to resources in every side of town.
Councilwoman Vogel?
I prefer using the word attainable rather than affordable. I think that's something. It means something different for everyone. And while we can pool our resources and we can make sure that they're accessible for everyone, that's something that we're already doing currently here in Columbus. What we need to do to fix this issue is to address our zoning and our permitting departments and what is going on in our inspections and codes. In order for our developers to be able to come here and make sure that they are being able to build in a timely manner, they need to be able to achieve this zoning and permitting to have those attainable and affordable housing opportunities. And so that's something that we need to make sure that we take a look at. It's antiquated, it's slow, and it's very frustrating for our business owners coming into Columbus.
Thank you. Our next question is, how would you describe the current state of leadership in city government? What makes it strong or weak? And what changes would you make to be more unified and transparent? And this question, Mr. Keller, we'll start with you. And from this point on, when the person next to you finishes, just go ahead and jump in. We won't necessarily call your name just in the interest of time. Mr. Kelly.
Well, let's be honest. The current state of our local government is a mess. We have people bickering at council meetings in public. That's a problem. When you cannot get along with the people that you work with, that's a problem. I'm not saying that everybody's always going to see eye to eye. They're not. I've bumped heads with many of coworkers over the years. But at the end of the day, we were still friends and we still worked things out and we still made things work. Now, how would I do it? That's easy. I'd be the mayor. I'd set the tone. I would tell people what my expectations are up front. This is what I expect. This is the decorum that we will have. There are executive sessions for a reason. And personally, I want to start going through all executive level positions on down day one and going through every role in government and seeing how we can reshape our government and make it more efficient.
Leadership, that's what it is. It takes leadership. And we got a lack thereof it all the way across the board. Lack thereof it. Some of these folks wouldn't know what leadership was if it hit them in the head. Leadership was developed by the military and given down to the civilian world. I know all about leadership. I have the leadership skills and abilities to do this job. And I can do the job. But our leadership is really bad here in Columbus. Even the prior leadership, I mean, it's embarrassing. The city council meetings, the decorum in there is embarrassing. People pour their hearts out when they get up there, and they get out there and talk their speeches and everything they put together, and then they're just belittled and played down. No more of that. We're going to conduct meetings in the open transparency, and we're going to make sure that everybody is heard fairly. But no more of this twirling hairs and eating candy bars at the council meetings. That's all going to stop.
So I think your question is how would you lead when it seems, you know, there's been a lot of acrimony and fighting between the city manager's office and the city council, and it seems like for years now, most of what you've heard from City Hall are these personality disputes, and it seems like folks have spent more time kind of fighting with these personality disputes and suing each other and just kind of using the city council meetings as a forum for just kind of building their own political clout. And, you know, if I was mayor, you would see a new seriousness come upon the city government. You wouldn't see us people there just fighting about all this nonsense. I can't even follow all the stuff that's been going on with the city council and the city manager and the mayor's office. What I have noticed, though, is that there's not a lot of progress in, like, the basic services. They want to fight in city council, or in the city government, but what you don't see is actual progress on the streets. You don't see the trash getting picked up. You don't see the roads getting repaired.
You're on.
And so, okay, thank you.
My thoughts about current leadership is very self-driven, I may say. It seems as if everyone up there has their own agenda, or at least their agenda for their select group. It's very much biased, and that's not okay. Again, another reason I've stepped up. And as a mental health clinician, every 2 years we have to actually do continuing education. I've seen lawyers have to do that, and I've seen multiple fields. But it doesn't seem like this leadership or this council has to do anything that continues their education, whether that is continuing their education from humanity, continue their education for more ways to improve the leadership within themselves and the community. So that's the first thing I would do, is I would direct them to some professional development.
I think that a lot of this issue comes from the lack of communication. And so what I would do to change that would be to make sure that our staff, that our city council, and that our citizens can collectively understand and know what the vision is for Columbus. And so that we're all on the same page and we all know where we're going. We're all in the same boat and we're all rowing in the right direction. You know, and that starts with opening up comments back up on social media so that the citizens can have voices again. For that comes with rearranging our city council meetings where our public agenda goes first so that the people can speak before the laws and the ordinances are addressed at the legislative level. That comes from holding regular town hall meetings both virtually and in person. And it comes with communication at all levels, from council, communicating with council on a regular basis, and communicating with our community on a regular basis.
Chaos, dysfunction, lack of civility around that table, no dignity, respect for our hard-working, low-paid employees, bullies, abuse of power, misuse of government process, and it must stop. We were once viewed as the local government to look to for how things are done right. We spoke with one voice. In recent years, we have become a joke, not just here in Columbus, but across the state of Georgia, and that is unfortunate. I have worked with 4 mayors and numerous city councilors. In recent years, we have fallen to an all-time low. As mayor, we will unite this city, we will fix civility, and we will get back on track.
All right. Thank you.
He didn't specifically say anything. All right, we're going to move to the next question.
Yeah.
Is there any follow-ups on this?
Oh, just a rebuttal if you're called out by name.
If there's a specific attack, but if there's something you'd like to add, and you can put it in your time. You can add that during your time.
Absolutely.
That's fine. Thank you.
Now to the next question. According to the latest information released by Columbus Police, crime numbers are down in a lot of key areas, but safety remains a major concern for residents. So what are your plans to help make Columbus safer and proposals to reduce gangs and gang activity? We're going to start with Mr. LaJoy.
Well, I'm glad you asked that subject tonight, Dennis, because I'm an expert at this. I don't know if anybody realizes it, but the last statistics that we had as far as gang members across the state, all 159 counties have a gang problem, all of them. No matter how big or small your city is or your population, we have a significant gang problem. We've had one for quite some time. We had a mayor at one time that said we didn't have a gang problem, when in fact, when I was a police officer on the other side of the block, there were shootings going on. The new statistics that we have are 124,732 gang members across the state. We got to do something about it. So I have created our 5-step crime reduction strategy. And the first important step in the 5-step crime reduction strategy is to develop a crime suppression task force. Now, some of you say, well, the state of Georgia is here. They've already done that. They're not effective at this point right now. And I'm going to make an effective crime suppression task force.
All right. Mr. Brial?
So there's something called the broken windows theory of crime. And they kind of came up with this back in the 1980s in New York City, where they noticed that you had all this graffiti on the subways, you had trash everywhere, and what they came up with is that the theory was that if we clean this stuff up, then you'll see a drop in the more serious things like the murder rate, assaults, robberies, all these things. And that's what they did. They cleaned up the graffiti, they cleaned up the trash, and you saw a dramatic decrease in New York City in the bigger crimes. And it makes sense. That's why you've seen me talk so much about the look of the city, how you go to like I was just there today, you go to the Macon Road intersection. You can go there tomorrow morning, and you'll see trash everywhere. You see trash all over the roads in this city. And so you wonder why there's dysfunction in the citizens with the big things. It's because the city doesn't take care of the small things. And they live in a disordered environment, and it contributes to the bigger crimes.
That's your time.
So violence isn't random. It's actually concentrated among a small number of individuals and groups. And so our strategy focuses where it matters most. We identify the people driving the violence using real data, engage them directly to make it clear that violence must stop, and offer real support, like job training, mental health services, and housing assistance. At the same time, accountability is clear. If violence continues, there are focused consequences, not mass arrest or over-policing the entire neighborhoods. And it works. This is actually currently being done in Baltimore, Maryland. And this approach has led there to nearly 60% reduction in homicides between the year of 2021 and 2025, and 25% drop in non-fatal shootings. And among those engaged, 95% were not re-victimized, and 98% did not reoffend. And so we strengthen these programs that are actually needed in our communities through smart investments and partnerships. And funding would come from our city, from our state and federal services.
That's your time.
Okay.
The obvious answer would be to continue to support our CPD and our public safety offices with continual pay and access to technology that they need to do their jobs. But what we need to address here in Columbus to make sure that we decrease our crime is to continue to reopen our recreation centers. We have entire We have an entire generation that, because we did not open our pools here in Columbus, Georgia for 8 years, we have an entire generation that does not know how to swim. That is a life skill. And we need to continue to rebuild those recreation centers so that our kids have a place to go, our kids have something to do, and they stay off the streets and out of those gangs. So I'm a big proponent for making sure that our recreation centers are rebuilt so that we can keep our kids off the streets.
Let me just first thank Police Chief Stoney Mathis and the men and women of the Columbus Police Department for their great work. But let me just say that if we address public safety only from an enforcement perspective, we are missing opportunities to reduce crime and build community and quality of life. We need a full system approach of preparation, prevention, and protection. I want to do a pay study every 3 years so that we can pay our public safety people. I want to increase their resources as we did with the local option sales tax. I want to make sure that we continue our partnerships with organizations like New Horizon for domestic violence, have a mental health response team, strong neighborhoods, and stable housing, and youth engagement, and real economic opportunity. And we've got to regularly review our other cities for best practices and continue the great work.
How am I going to reduce crime? Easy. I'm going to hire Mark LaJoy as the CPD police chief. No, in all seriousness, CPD is doing a great job. They really are. However, we know crime still needs to come down. I want to expand community policing through community action teams and direct neighborhood engagement, implement my Safe Columbus directive with a focused violent crime reduction strategy, improve response time across police, fire, and EMS through operational adjustments and technology, which is going to be hard with the South Side being cut in half by all of the construction going on. I want to provide free doorbell cameras to eligible homes in high crime areas. I want to use drones. I want to increase the case clearance rate as well. We need to make sure that we are giving the amount of money that is required by the solicitor's office so we can get that 16,000 case backlog cleared. Community policing. That's my number one push.
That's your time. All right, next question. Where do you...
My name was mentioned in this. I need a rebuttal here.
Oh, well, it wasn't mentioned in a negative way.
Exactly, no, it wasn't, but I want to expand on his...
Well, the rebuttals are only for if you are like an attack.
Okay.
So
we're going to move on. All right, next question. Where do you stand on a proposed data center, the so-called Project Ruby, and what protections would you work to put into place to protect residents against rising utility rates and other issues that may be the consequence of such a facility? And we start with Chris Brialt.
So I am not in favor of the data center. I think that it's going to take close to, I guess it's about 600 to 900 acres of pristine, forested land. It's going to increase our electrical bills. And, they haven't really told us how it's not going to increase the electrical bills. Electricity, it's a finite resource, and they want to double the amount that we use, and so the bills are going to go up. And I think you've seen the people in the city government, they have essentially allowed this project to go forward because they've been promised $50 to $60 million a year, supposedly something like that, in more tax revenue. But really, it's really just a tax on the citizens because the city government gets more money, but you guys pay more. You pay more in your electricity, you pay more in your water bills. And so, no, I'm not in favor of it. They've only promised, like, the first building, like 50 jobs. It's not very many jobs. It's going to raise everybody's utilities. And so I'm 100% not in favor of the data center.
Yeah. I, too, am not in favor of it. One, I think there's so many other things that we must address first. Homelessness is rising. Crime is still rising. Affordability in housing is still going. People are still leaving the city. Data center, completely down the list. I'm not in favor. One thing that I can do that I can say can help address that is begin taxing people who would love to bring in those large developments and luxury like deals like the data center. They deserve to be taxed so that it can free up the homeowners and individuals so that they can pay their rent. Most of our city is at $59,000 of a median income. If rent rises or utilities or property taxes continue to rise, you're going to rise the city out of here. And there's not going to be any families left. They cannot pay. They cannot. 1 + 1 is 2. They cannot. So one thing is to tax. If a data center wants to come here, tax it, not the people.
I believe that we are going about this completely the wrong way as of right now. We are lacking a lot of transparency and accountability, and one of the things that I've been asking for here at Council has been to make sure that we have a town hall that is available for all of our citizens in a forum format with the people who are pro-data center and the people who are anti-data center, so that we have everybody up on the same stage, on the same page, available for our citizens to answer questions and get their concerns addressed. The overlay that we're currently sitting at right now is to set the restraints in order to protect the citizens. And if we don't have that overlay, then we are unable to protect our citizens, regardless of whether it is in Muskogee County or Talbot County. And so currently I'm in favor of what PAC has recommended in taking a step back and making sure that we have all of our questions answered.
This is one of those moments where experience matters. Every economic development opportunity has the potential to be harmful to some aspect of the community, but not if you know how to negotiate it. Experience matters. My position on data centers, 100% community benefit, added community value, or no deal. Zero environmental concerns unless 100% guaranteed abatement by data center officials with no cost to our citizens. No noise, no utilities, no health concerns, zero environmental justice concerns. In addition, I will telephone mayors and leaders with data centers to see how they have been impacted, ask what they would do differently and what they know what they would do differently, and I will visit those data centers that are close to Columbus, Georgia.
Thank you.
I don't think any amount of experience is going to help with this ordeal. Data centers are new. I'm not an expert on the environment and the impact that these will cause. As a matter of fact, this specific system that they're talking about using is extremely new, and there is very little data publicly available about it. I made some calls to some people that have done data center deals, and I've asked for this information as well. They don't have it. But I can tell you what, I was at that very first meeting, and I asked the elephant in the room question, as I said before. I asked if it was a done deal. After a few minutes of this long-winded explanation, the meat and potatoes of it is, yes, it is. But how do we stop it? Or what do we get, or how do we make sure we get what we want out of it? Well, easy. Last time I checked, they can't build without permits. We stop them until we get those answers. I want to know where this tax money is going. Is it going to surplus the taxes we currently pay? Or is it going to lower the property taxes? I couldn't even get that answer. Has anybody asked that question besides me?
That's your time. Thank you.
We've heard a lot of flowery language on what a mayor would do and who he's going to contact on the next one and so on and so forth. What's the rush? What's the rush? Why are we rushing into this data center? We don't know enough economically, environmentally about this program, what's going to happen. Somebody got rich out of selling that property, all right? But what is the rush? I think there's not enough data out there for us to look at, and I'll give some praise to Ms. Coggle, which is rare for me. And I will say this, is that there needs to be open forums on both sides, pro and against this. We need to do something about it, but there's not enough data out there that satisfies me. So no, I wouldn't be part of it until I'm satisfied that all the requirements are met.
All right, so we, in the interest of time and try to get as many questions as we can get in, candidates, we are now going to move into sort of a lightning round. Where in the interest, we're going to have answers limited to 35 seconds for the rest of the questions here. And we're going to begin the second round with Dr. Jaquitra Bryant.
And the question is about South Side Road construction, specifically surrounding the spider web, has dragged on for years. Are there ways to better update some of these much-needed road projects without having a devastating impact on businesses and residents in the short term?
One way definitely is to redirect funding and actually get the people over there to work on it. I've definitely heard that they've moved some of the actual workers from projects that have been overdue onto the immediate projects downtown. So, like, actually putting the projects over there, putting a time limit and building it. And also notifying those small businesses. This is their business, this is their livelihood. And so we have a transparency and communication issue in Columbus. So communicating through newspapers, through phone lines, through public hearings to let those small businesses know that you're interfering with their business.
A lot of these projects are GDOT funded projects, and we need to make sure that as a city entity that we're holding those contracts accountable for the trash, for the speed in which they're doing their projects, so that it's fair all the way around the city, from the north to south, the east to west.
The short answer to your question is no. Georgia DOT funding and federal funding is where we got the money for most of these projects. We do not control those projects when we accept those GDOT and federal dollars. If we fund the project from our local dollars, then we control the project, the speed, and so forth. And one great example would be Moon Road. We decided we would not accept Georgia DOT money to jumpstart and move Moon Road along. And because we spent our own money, we were able to do it at record speed. And so the short answer is no.
The real answer is yes. I have grown up around construction all my life. My father started doing construction when he was 11 years old. Highways, driveways, streets, sidewalks, runways, bridges. I've seen it. I know what it takes. Yes, it would have taken extra money to shift the spider web. Could we have thrown some of our local money in there? Could we have went back to, as Mr. Hewley said, and said, hey, we can't close all this down because of all these businesses? The answer to that is yes.
Have you seen these road projects? Look at the one up there up on the north end where Target's at. I almost ran into somebody coming across the road. Somebody was drunk, that some engineer didn't put that thing together properly. I'm telling you, these are dismal failure, these road projects. The engineers didn't put them together. It's confusing, and we're going to have a lot of accidents over there. And of course, if Steve hires me as the public safety director or the police chief, I'm going to have my hands full. But the bottom line is we should have representation at the table regardless if it's a DOT project. This is our city. We govern it.
Bingo.
Mr. Priol?
Yes, you hear a lot about it's a Georgia DOT project and it's this and that and we can't do anything, but really you need somebody in city government who can light a fire under these folks, you know what. And, they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Somebody should be raising Cain about these projects that take 7 years. They damage the citizens' lives having to deal with them. Even in the last 2 weeks at the last debate, I brought up the issue of the Buena Vista Road construction. And all of a sudden, magically, after raising Cain about the Buena Vista Road interchange, all of a sudden, you go there now, within the last 2 weeks, they've done more work than they've done in the last 6 months. And that's just from me. I'm not even mayor yet. And already they're making progress on these projects.
All right, that's your time. Now to the next question. Food insecurity is on the rise, so the cost of gas and groceries is up lately. Do you think there's anything you could do as mayor to help the people of Columbus handle these economic and affordability issues? We'll start with Councilwoman Kogel.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a ton of resources here in Columbus, Georgia. We have a lot of churches. We have a lot of nonprofits. We need to make sure as a city that we are pooling together and consolidating these resources so that our citizens have access to all the information that they need to be successful. And so as a city, we can address food deserts, but to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we work together with our constituents to make sure that we can have all of those resources accessed to all of our citizens as possible.
Food banks, churches, the Divine Nine, we do Thanksgiving, Christmas, neighborhood associations are helping, and so it's neighbor helping neighbor, and those are the kinds of things that we have got to do when it comes to food insecurity.
I don't disagree with Mr. Hughley with that. I don't. However, I think as mayor, I would make my focus on trying to create more jobs, bring more businesses, get people to make more money, to be able to survive on their own without needing somebody else's help. I don't know about anybody else here. My pride is very strong, and it is very, very difficult to ask somebody for help. I don't know about you guys, but I would like to be self-sufficient.
I think the city could invest in, the food banks that we have around the city. I think that's important. And the lending closets. We were at one at the Columbus Baptist Association, and I was awed by the amount of clothing and food that they can give out there. I think that's what we do as a city, and as a mayor, I'll make sure that we invest in all of those resources.
Yeah, I think if you want people to be able to afford food, then they got to have good jobs. And if you run a city that businesses don't want to come to, then you're not going to get the employers. When you look around the town, there's trash everywhere. There's disorganization. It's no wonder that a lot of these corporations have left Columbus. They don't want to be in a town that looks like a dump. And again, I'm not saying all of Columbus looks like that, but we are not keeping up this town, and the businesses don't want to be here. So if you want people to afford food, then they got to have some good jobs. And that's what we need to focus on, not giving away food.
That's your time.
But
So my priority is the livelihood of our families and keeping them here in Columbus. Earlier today, I was actually at the United Way for their 211 services. And although there are 400 different resources that are available to our families, accessibility was the biggest issue. If our families don't know it's there, then they can't go and get the resources. So one of the things I proposed earlier to them was putting a decal in different businesses' windows so that people can actually know where to go for services, and it streamlines there, and then they can have a connection.
All right, thank you. Final question, and we will have to cut the time down to 30 seconds on this each. The question is, what are your plans for addressing blight that is happening in many communities? Are there specific programs that help homeowners remove and or manage dilapidated structures? And we start, Mr. Hughley, with you on that question.
We've got to do what Mayor Henderson did recently, or a few years back. We normally would budget $200,000 to deal with blight. We were aggressive, and we placed $1 million in the budget to deal with blight. We've got to be aggressive about it, but we've got to put the money in the budget to get that done.
First and foremost, I apologize for my last question. I would like to give a shout out to the community warriors in Feeding the Valley. I really do love what they do, and I know I saw one of those shirts in here. Now, as far as addressing blight, how would I accomplish it? Well, We do need money, but where are we going to get it from? We need to first analyze our budget so that we do not increase millage rates, we do not increase property taxes, because money does not just print off at a local government. We need to actually find the solutions that do work.
Well, as mayor, I'm going to make sure code enforcement does their job, first of all, because there's houses all around the city that are blighted and garbage outside of them and plants growing. I have a house up the block from me, and the ivy has grown over the top of the roof. And we've been complaining about this for over 2 years. The house has been unoccupied for 3 years. There's garbage cans out in the front of it. First of all, we need to make sure code enforcement does their job before we can do our job.
So, you know, the issue of blight, you have these dilapidated houses that are falling apart. You know, Mr. Hughley noted that they took $1 million to try to do something about that, but too many times they'll take $1 million and they give it to this contractor they're friends with. They'll give it to this contractor they're friends with. I mean, one thing I would do is rebuild the city trades. I mean, we can get our own bulldozers and bulldoze these houses. We can burn them down. There's a lot of, all you hear is, you hear talk, but you never hear any progress on these issues. So.
My priority is definitely making sure that all of our families have a home, and that's not the case. We have 369 unhoused people counted, not the ones in the hotels. And it shouldn't be all of those blighted homes. So our city is not broke. We actually have money. I've taken a look at the tax assessments, and there's a very outdated charter. And that charter is supposed to actually tax homes that are belonging to other people. And then once they don't pay, tax them even more. That charter is very outdated and needs to be reviewed.
While we can increase our budget, I think that just punishes the taxpayer for something that we have not done the best to our abilities at. And so I think we need to really think outside the box here and consider some tax incentives for businesses that are coming into Columbus for addressing blight on properties that they are purchasing, as well as rehabilitating those properties.
Well, thank you, candidates. We now move to closing remarks. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to make your final pitch to voters.
We will follow the same randomly selected order as the opening statement, so we're going to begin these closings with Councilwoman Kogel.
Sure. Well, thank you all for hanging in here. I know that was a long night, and I appreciate you all watching this. I'll be very quick. My name again is Joanne Kogel, and we are going to get back to basics here. We are going to pick up our trash. We're going to clean up our city. We're going to pave our roads. We're going to be the safest city in the state of Georgia. We're going to make it easy to do business here in our community. My name is Joanne Kogel. I am looking for good experience for our citizens. We are going to strive for excellence, and we are not going to go backwards. So my name is Joanne Kogel. I'm asking for your vote here on May 19. Vote Joanne Kogel for mayor.
Tonight, you've heard ideas, you've heard differences, you've heard promises, and you've heard misinformation. But when you leave here tonight, ask yourself one simple question: who is ready on day one to lead Columbus forward? Because this is not a time for guesswork, as you've heard around this table tonight. It's not a time for learning on the job. Families are feeling the pressure, neighborhoods need attention, and our city deserves leadership that delivers, not someday, but right now. I bring proven experience, a record of results, and the ability to bring people together to get things done. I know what the job requires, and I'm ready to meet that responsibility from day one. If you want steady leadership, real progress, and a mayor who will work for every corner of this city, I ask for your vote. Let's move Columbus, Georgia forward together. One goal, one future, one Columbus. I'm Isaiah Hughley, and I ask for your vote for mayor of Columbus, Georgia.
Let me leave you with this. Everyone watching tonight knows something is off in this city. You feel it when crime impacts your neighborhood. You feel it when the rent and cost of living goes up. You feel it when the jobs disappear. You feel it when 8 years later, you're asking why a project isn't done yet, and you still don't get answers. The problem is not just what's happening. The problem is people are starting to accept it, but not me. This is not the best that Columbus can be. We have the location, the people, the talent, and opportunity. There is no reason Columbus should be lagging behind like this. The difference in this race is simple. Others will talk about ideas. I am focused on execution. Day one, we start fixing potholes, and we track performance across every department. We publish real data online in real time, and we hold leadership accountable, including the mayor. I'm not here to protect the status quo. I'm here to fix what is broken and deliver results. Safer neighborhoods, stronger families, real opportunities for our kids, real jobs.
Yes.
If that's what you want,
What's your time?
then I'm your guy. Vote Steve Kelly.
Great.
Folks, you heard a lot in the audience. You heard a lot of talk, a lot of I'm on the job, ready to do the job. Let me tell you something. I spent 41 years in the military, in every aspect of the military, in military leadership. I have the leadership skills and abilities to do this job. The leadership trusts us with multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment. We don't have to have on-the-job training. They train us right from the get-go. I can walk into this job and do it. I don't have to have 40 years of experience behind the city council talking about things and not getting it done. Number one, you've got somebody in here who says, I'm ready from day one from the job to do the job. Why wasn't the job done before that? It was not. And there's a reason why it wasn't. And there's a reason why city council made its decision the way they made it. But I have the leadership skills and abilities to do this job, and I'm Mark LaJoy, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I think I get a response to that.
Well, let's finish this up, and we'll.
Columbus,
there's 15 seconds. We'll give.
Columbus, you have your politicians who they've told you for decades or years now that, they say we do amazing. They tell you that this is a world-class city. They say that, we've been a leader here for all these years and everything is great. But, the truth is that you can drive around town. You can look around town. You can look at the roads. You can see the trash. You can go to the parks. The parks don't have working water fountains. You go to the Riverwalk. You can't use a restroom. The restrooms are nasty in the parks. Things are not kept up. This is not a world-class city. And really, in this election, if the past is good enough for you, and if the progress that they've made in the past is good enough, then you'll vote one way. But if you want something different, if you want to change the trajectory of the city, then you're going to do something else. Thank you.
So thank you to everyone that borrowed lots of my language. So I'll start with how I started before. No neighborhood in Columbus should be overlooked when it comes to safety, investment, and opportunity. And that's exactly why I'm not a career politician. Experience means absolutely nothing without accountability. And it definitely means nothing when you have hundreds of families hungry, unhoused, a jail overpopulated, and a school system failing. It means absolutely nothing. Tell that to the families. So I'm Dr. Jakeisha Bryant. I'm not a part of the chaos, thankfully. I am a person who's come in who was tired of watching families overlooked, neighborhoods overlooked, and decided I'll do something about it. And I ask for your vote on new leadership that will definitely deliver, as I have done in other states and other countries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We should make a note there are no rebuttals on closing statements. That's just the rule generally. But thank you, candidates. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to all of you guys for being here and for folks watching and participating tonight, our candidates. Let's give them a round of applause in tonight's debate.
And super important to get out and vote. Election Day is May 19th. You can visit the free Newsletter 9 mobile app and streaming channel later tonight to watch a full replay of tonight's debate. Encourage others to do the same. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night. get up and move around now?